Manyame Mawam Sivinge Nivakba Niva Matanya Jitichuve Miyak Tiltilube Inyake Situlke Guevke Metabke Bakiove Bam Upam of Soka Ninu Pakavavo Matanya Chitichuve Miyak Tiltilube Nyavame Bam Uka Bam Wiwo
A Cree Indian prophecy states, when the earth has been ravaged and the animals are dying, a tribe of people from all races, creeds and colors will put their faith in deeds, not words, to make the land green again. They will be called warriors of the rainbow, protectors of the environment. Our ancestors understood our symbiotic relationship to nature and the elements, and foresaw the collapse of an unsustainable world. Traversing time and space, the world's wisdom keepers share their sacred transmissions.
In the beginning, there was the question that started all of creation, the question that Spirit itself asked, who am I? You have come from so very far away, beyond the restrictions of time and space. This began the journey of yourself, of your soul. And so it was that the angels came to earth and took on human form, to be in the dimension of slowed down time and space. And so it was that the angels forgot who they were. Came to earth to realize what it was like to live within your own creation, where you could see the results of your thoughts and your actions and your consciousness. And every one of those experiences has expanded your soul. Every one of those experiences has helped to answer that original question, who am I? So much more than who you think you are. Wake up, dear one. Wake up. As one who has lived hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes on earth, what a grand opportunity for I, Tobias, to tell my next incarnation about how it got here. What an incredible opportunity for each of us here to join our energies together to tell this story in a way that's understandable or go straight to the heart?
It's always come to the point, do we dare to go on the journey inside?
You have come to this place called Earth to experience what it's like to be in physical form, to be in a human body, to have a mind, to dive deep into all of creation.
We are on the river of life, cruising on a starry, blissful night, suddenly hearing bullets whistling above our head. We find ourselves boarded, attacked by pirates. Before you know it, in the tumble of conscious awareness, we find ourselves in the dark depths, slimy hell of their boat, being taken away with an unknown future. All the scenarios went on in my mind, and the shadow was playing out all these dark scenarios of outcomes. The explosion of the ego dropped me like a lift in a shaft, the cable breaking from mind to the heart. And that was my fruit of the rose, that was my awakening, that moment of surrender.
The fruit of the rose, what you planted in your own consciousness long before you ever came to Earth. A reminder when the time was right that you would awaken. It is time to remember.
That voice inside knows, and it's calling. And it's knocking on all the doors because it's time. Maybe there is something I forgot, something from my childhood that I lost along the way.
Now we come to the time of remembering and awakening, your call to come back to yourself. The call to awaken is heard by the ancient memories of your past, by memories that have been pushed away and suppressed, by every part of you.
I'm a dream runner. My job is to run prophecy. I run forwards and backwards in time. What do you have as a memory? Dreaming backwards. Think about what you're gonna eat for lunch tomorrow, dreaming forwards. But it's you conscious are traveling backwards and forwards in time from your flesh garment. Our job, run the truth, run the dream.
We absolutely have to combine with the elders, with the ancient ones. Otherwise, we won't know how to move into the future in a harmonic way so that we can be stabilized and live there. It's essential.
En estas sagradas ceremonias hemos sobrevivido.
And it's because these sacred ceremonies that we have been able to survive.
Bat
Bats.
es el hilo del destino.
Bats is the thread of our destiny.
Es el hilo de nuestra existencia sobre la paz de la tierra.
It's the thread of our existence here on earth.
Es el cordón de ombligo cuando venimos en el vientre de nuestra
It's the
madre.
umbilical cord that connects us with our mother.
Aquí pedimos nosotros el sexto y séptimo sentido.
Here we ask for the sixth and seventh sense to be developed.
Es el hilo magnético que está sobre la paz de la tierra, que lleva un control de 5.200 años.
It's the magnetic thread that is over the earth and controls time. It has a length of 5,200 years.
The fulfillment of that prophecy, that when the eagle and the condor does fly together again tremendous changes will take place on the planet.
For us, the eagle is the messenger that takes our prayers on its wings with its strength to the Creator. And in return, the Creator instructs the sun to distribute the prayers through its rays, throughout the world.
For us, everything has cycles. The cycle returns to the same point, to the beginning. And at the beginning is harmony. At the beginning is balance. At the beginning is the essence.
The sun is like a living, energetic being. And the dawning of the sixth sun and its heralding of this new age, a golden age, is actually the story of humanity becoming aware of this shift. The heart is like an internal sun.
We greet the sun, and we let the Father Sun touch our inner sun. And from our inner sun awake, we can send this energy, this light to all the cells in our body, the little suns in our cells, awakening all the body so you can experience the light in you, the light that you are.
We keep thinking things take time, and they don't take time, they take alignment. And once things are in alignment, things happen in a quantum way. So our whole understanding of time has to be removed, and this is what the Maya spoke about at the end of time. It's not the end of a clock ticking, it's the end of a concept of understanding the universe.
It's time for horizontal power to be built again, and that as women, we are the ones that know how to do that. The other was solar energy, it was vertical, it was power, right? But vertical power, it was war. That solar energy, that was the fifth age, the fifth sun. The sixth sun now, it's magnetic energy, it's the moon's energy, it's the women's energy. So now it's the time to be in a circle again.
The prophecy that 8,000 drums were going to beat again as one, and that these were not going to be drums of war, but that they were going to signal the healing of the earth, of peace, and the healing of humanity.
Now the ones who have been the elders, the ones who have kept the history of consciousness for humanity, they ring the bells, they beat the drums, they sing the chants, they sound the horns, they align themselves with the crystalline and the electromagnetic and the light energies of Earth itself. They align themselves with the frequencies and the potentials of all of the angelic realms, sounding the call. The time is now, here on Earth. The call to awaken goes deep within every strand of your DNA. Every part of you lights up with the awakening. Every part of you begins the dance of renewal and rejuvenation. The ancient ones say that we have held the energy for as long as we can, and it is now up to you, the ones who are awakening, the ones who will help to create the new earth, the ones who will expand their consciousness and serve as the standards for all the ones who will come after them. It is time to awaken.
It's the young'uns that are becoming the guardians of the new earth. It is their sovereign birthright. They're learning the ancient ways and skills that have been forgotten by the white fellas.
When we talk of the journeys that are unfolding, it is going to unfold globally, universally. Everything that is there is going to come into a joining. We have to begin to be very sensitive to that. The ancestors that were of wisdom and the giftings of the mysticism of spirit knew of what was going to happen. Therefore, we know that times are going to be changing. We have the ability to change it. We are coming into a time now where transformation is key.
The four root races need to come together. The red, the white, the yellow, and the black. And that each one has a piece of the puzzle. Without each other, we don't have all of the information. So we can't do it alone.
Between one another, we're actually creating that bridge, heart to heart, mind to mind, spirit to spirit. So, and then people to people, you know, and so you see a lot of what they call the rainbow family coming together.
And as the sounds of the indigenous and the elders slowly begins to fade away, it is the time of remembering who you are, why you are here, why you've chosen to be on earth at this time of the greatest change ever. Bless your awakening. Can you trust yourself to allow your own changes to take place? The call to awaken is heard inside, in parts of you that have been hidden for so very long, in parts of you that have been wounded and hurt. The call to awaken is heard by parts of you that are in pain, the parts of you that are crying, the parts of you that want to return home to you.
My mind, I've found, so tightly wound, keeps turning in circles around and around. I seek the straight within the curve, to enter the spine and touch the nerve, rising through direct transmission to pierce the veil of double vision.
The old systems on earth are beginning to dissolve. It's time to begin transforming from the old self into the new. And now the change of awakening gently begins to remove those structures. It begins to soften the old hard ideas and belief systems.
This three-dimensional time is so quickly passing. We cannot exist in this new time if we allow for the present to maintain its status quo.
Only a total transformation is going to bring about the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Our political system isn't working very well anymore. Our medical system isn't working very well anymore. And we don't know what to do. And in between the falling apart of the old world and the emergence of the new, whether it's in personal life or on a collective level, there's this sacred space, the space between worlds, the space between stories. Many people are going through that kind of transition today.
The fundamental nature of a human being is wherever he is, whatever he is, somehow his present condition is not enough. He wants to be something more than what he is. Some people are gathering things, some people are gathering money, some people are gathering property, power, pleasure, love, knowledge, it doesn't matter what. So this longing to expand is a longing for the unbounded, because wherever you reach, it's not enough, you want to be something more. Till one knows the boundlessness of his existence, this longing will not stop.
The youth of today know there's something drastically wrong going on. They're not stupid. How do you think they're going to react to some system that they know is dumb?
We're spiritual beings. Inside us, we have an energy that's invincible. In our mind, we have morals and principles, incredibly strong emotions. To some, they seem invisible. Some of us stand so strong with wide smiles, but inside, we are miserable. Some of us have a spiritual significance beyond human understanding that defines mystical. Now, some of us stand by and watch the leaders of our planet rob large developed countries for their minerals. Me, I decide to stand up for what's right and get lyrical.
The planet's sick, the system's sick, the financial system's sick, the healthcare system's sick. Media, sick.
Meanwhile, folks live in tower blocks for 20 years, but they don't know their neighbours. They don't share knowledge or love. They'd rather act like strangers. And according to the propaganda in the paper, every teenager with a hood might decide to blade ya.
Right now, if they read the newspapers and the way the media is reporting the world, I think the youth will become despondent and frustrated that there is no way to live well on this planet. We should not create that hopelessness in the new generation of people. It's very important. The beauty of the world, the beauty of the humanity, the goodness of the humanity, the gentleness of the humanity, the love of the humanity, the compassion of the humanity should also find expression in the media so that there is hope for the youth and that becomes the ideal, not the violence and the negative aspects of life.
Children, the young people, they're very fresh, they're very much closer to the memory of what life is really about. And they vibrate from that frequency. And if we want to communicate with the youth, then we have to tune into where they're vibrating. If you want to communicate with whoever it is you want to communicate, you have to tune into where they're tuned into, not where you think they should be.
We're all here on spiritual journeys of enlightenment. You'll find out sooner or later with every step on this journey I walk, I seem to get more persistent and braver. More passionate and determined, now I'm striving for greater. And I can't even describe the energy inside me that drives my being, that's nobody. All I know is I'm gonna make a huge difference in this world. And nothing's gonna stop me.
So when we have younger generations saying we're being betrayed, this has to be addressed. In fact, they're speaking on behalf of past as well as future generations.
It no longer can be safely assumed that in a democracy the government takes care of its people or of the voter base, basically. But it's become very clear that government has its own agenda, it's a power structure, it's a failing power structure that is no longer supporting its own base.
Time to change. Time to change. I call it the rules of the game of life. It's how we choose our terms of governance, terms of agreement as to how we engage with the world.
Just before the invasion of Iraq, do you remember the millions who came out? I mean, it started out in the east, and it was like waves of humanity, and it was people who could quite easily have said, "This has got nothing to do with me." They didn't. They didn't. They said, "We care. We want to give peace a chance." Most people want peace.
The governments of the world really seem to be stuck in the love of power.
If you cannot bring peace to your own mind, where is the question of bringing peace to the world?
The beat of a butterfly's wing can, at a critical moment, create a hurricane on the far side of the ocean. But, you know, are you going to be aware when there's a critical moment at hand? No, you just got to be beating all the time. You've got to be the butterfly all the time.
Change begins to wash away the layers and the layers of difficulties and challenges and pain. It begins untying the knots, breaking the coils, releasing you from your own prison. And it all comes from within. Welcome the changes into your life.
There is a vibrational change going on, which is teasing people's range of frequencies open.
It's almost like a dial of a radio. You know, you can hear about this much at certain frequencies, and as you tune the radio a little bit higher up on the dial, you hear other radio stations, and it works the same way with dimensions. The more you create a vibrational field and bump up the frequency of vibration, the more levels of reality you perceive. And all these levels of reality are totally real on their level of reality, it's just that we can't see them.
It's a critical mass of awakened people that will help the whole of the planet grow in awakening themselves and create this shift of consciousness on the whole planet.
This next 10-year period is a crucial period in which we have to, as embodied beings, step to the next level of collective consciousness.
So the future is being created every instant by the choices of the collective consciousness. As the mass consciousness chooses a certain scenario, we kind of walk down that timeline.
We have an explanatory framework for interpreting the world. You know, we have a story we tell ourselves about what's real, who am I, how to live life, what's important, you know, how to do things. And all of a sudden that story doesn't work anymore. Why do we think that in this time of crisis that the solution is going to be more urgency, more efficiency? Maybe sometimes we have to do less. I think it's important to be comfortable in that empty space and allow it to ripen. If you don't know what to do, maybe you shouldn't do anything. And just wait for the clarity and wait for the impulse to act.
As you begin to trust yourself, it literally changes every part of you, every electromagnetic portion, every spiritual vibration, so that you begin attracting new things to you. Can you trust yourself to allow your own changes to take place? After many, many lifetimes on your hands and knees, after many lifetimes of ceremony and religious rhetoric, you got very, very tired of the religions. You saw what was happening. The mind was taking over. Religions were losing their hearts. Religions were becoming very dogmatic and rote.
I think there's always been a unified spiritual path that's called being human. We've just become incredibly wound up in the wire of our own traditions and become attached to them in the worst possible sense. If we look at the Buddhist understanding of attachment, we've become terribly attached to them, so attached that we don't feel we can function, live and breathe without them. That's not a liberation. That's not a liberation into a loving, conscious state. That's a slow death.
As long as the mind is talking and chattering, then we're caught up in a loop that is self-created. And so when that dissolves, we have the possibility of seeing something different. And then the mystical traditions say that when the mind ceases, when we enter that state of quiescence, that we have the opportunity to glimpse the self or the soul.
We've got to get the left brain out the driving seat. It's, if you like, the movie screen in the theater that we're watching. When you get back to the projector and you see where it's coming from, the foundation of all control, no matter what form it takes, is control of human perception and the manipulation of human perception. And the more that you can shut people's multidimensional awareness down and lock their decoding perception process into the 5 senses, the easier they are to control.
For those who think humanity is headed on a bad path right now, stop for a moment and realize that by healing the past, tomorrow is different, because it's no longer the path of karma or destiny. It becomes the path of choice and imagination. The mind is such a perfect place to escape having to deal with the love of yourself.
You have to go inside yourselves and start listening and learn about something much deeper than changing policies and moving money and lowering the base rate. And it's just not going to work. It doesn't work.
There's been a filter on the right brain half of human beings. At the current time, we are living in a new level when it is pulse by pulse the right brain half that is being strengthened. Not only will the dominance of the left brain culture come to an end, but also the dominance of the Western Hemisphere.
When a well-packaged and managed web of lies has been sold gradually to the masses, the truth will seem utterly preposterous and the speaker a raving lunatic.
If you are a left brain dominated person and you meet a right brain person or a whole brain person, you're going to think they're crazy or off the wall or extreme, because you're decoding reality in a completely different way to them.
You can occupy your mind with facts and figures, and so you can forget about loving you. You can build this false temple of the mind to pretend that you're smart, or to pretend that you know things, but you're still running and you still know it.
There is a side to the human condition that will always want to remain in the dark, remain in the shadows. It takes a lot of courage to look at the more negative aspects of yourself. Simply turn around and take a look and say, okay, this is part of me. There is gold in the dark.
As you know, a light falls on an object, it casts a shadow. The shadow reminds us that we are souled beings. That shadow that we have cursed, that shadow that we have run from, that shadow that we blame for putting us into this endless cycle of lifetimes, is our divinity, is our soul. The inward looking self, it is just there loving you. Taking everything of this external expression and transmuting it into depth of the soul, into a light beyond light, into wisdom that is eternal.
Going beyond duality is one of the keys. Now, one of the masteries of the mystery schools in Egypt is to understand the alchemy of mankind and what we're capable of, and look at it as a scale. And we could tip it any way we want. The key behind becoming a master or achieving a level of mastery is to bring balance to chaos. And we literally weave creation within that process of the chaos.
It is an illusion that there is good or bad, dark or light. It is an illusion that there is up and down. For every one of these illusions is just a form of duality. Duality is a mirror for you to see yourself, the darkness within you. It causes you to take a look at your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities, old belief systems that you could be taken by the devil as well as you could be taken by God. Old belief systems in opposing forces. A belief since nearly the beginning of time that there was duality. And all of this causes a type of fear and a type of closure, which holds that belief system even so much tighter. And that belief system, that illusion, creates the duality that you experience in your everyday life. It is time to let those illusions go by the way. For there is no dark and there is no light. It is only consciousness. There is no heaven and there is no hell. It is only consciousness. There is no right and no wrong. There is only consciousness. And within that consciousness is love. It is a bold step to release the need to have opposing forces in your life to create the illusion of reality. Are you ready to release opposing belief systems? Are you ready to accept the oneness and the sovereignty of yourself? Take a deep breath.
I can see it clearly. All this pain, addiction, suffering has been of my own creation. I've been stealing, lying, and fighting with myself and with others. For years I have been destroying my body with momentary pleasures, filling that empty hole inside to cover up my dissatisfaction with life.
I never did believe in myself when I was younger, and I suppose that's because you can't see the light that comes from yourself, because you are inside looking out. You can see your own light when you see the light you create in the ones that you are dealing with, and the words that come from your spirit comes free, comes out, and you see the spirit get lined up inside of them, and you see the glow, and you say, wow, only glow can create glow. So if you spot it, you got it.
To heal your wounds, you really just need to be unafraid of what you've experienced. We have to remember that we've already been through those things and we've survived. Straight up. You know, like here we are. We've still survived. Yes, those wounds have affected us severely and have shaped our lives in all sorts of ways. But once you get the courage to reface your wounds again and bringing all of your intelligence of everything that you've gained through your life to that, it gives you the strength to dive into all of your pain and all of your wounds and to be able to just reprogram yourself from within. You can't avoid it. You have to go through it. You have to like eat it, and breathe it, and roll around in it. And it's like, just get into yourself, however it takes. And it takes time and patience and a lot of compassion for yourself. And it's not easy, but it's well worth it.
When any emotions and feelings are suppressed in the body, they can form a huge energetic cauldron that needs to be released.
What if you allowed yourself to connect back to your shadow and to your divine, to be here on earth as a fully conscious, trusting, and aware angel?
The shamans in South America, they call it the truth medicine. When you take ayahuasca in a ceremonial space, it aligns you with truth. It knows what you need, and it will bring up within you what you need to purge, what you need to let go of. It's a vine and it's a plant mixed together that creates this magic, this alchemy that allows you to let go of these things.
What matters is that we understand that purging is part of the natural process of growing. You know, I know in lots of indigenous traditions where they take medicines which actually help you to vomit up these energies which no longer serve you. People call it getting well.
So what happens is when you take the blend of these two plants, the vine prevents the enzymes in the stomach from throwing out surplus DMT, so that it goes through the stomach wall and into the system. It takes about half an hour or an hour to work, depending on the strength. The solo journey. It depends what you're taking it for. Whatever it is, it's just not a recreational drug. You would not do it for fun. You put your intention into the brew, knock it back, and keep your fingers crossed.
plant medicines. Now, there are many plant medicines. There are some plant medicines that are for the physical, some are for the mental, some are for the mind, and some are for emotional. But there are some plant medicines that we take that allow us to travel forward and travel backwards in time. What some people would call astral travel.
People had great reverence for the plants. They actually spoke to the plants, and they had the ability to see the energy of plants. They could tell you which plants were poisonous, which plants were edible, which plants were good for different ailments. And they could also see the power plants. And the power plants are endowed with divine energy. And these plants are here for a reason, and they're to help elevate the consciousness of humanity.
I'd have to add a lot of caution in around the use of medicine plants and everything like that, straight up. I think they're essential at certain stages of your development. Too early or not in the right space or done in the wrong way, in a way that's unsafe for your growth, is irresponsible behaviour, I think. And I really don't think that people should enter into using plant medicines without somebody who's got a lot of knowledge of what's going on and is able to hold space for them as they enter through a new doorway.
The plant medicines help greatly because the plants, when you walk the path of plants, they think that we are getting drunk, that we are getting drugged, that we are getting this. My dear people, listen. There is a massive difference between medicine and drugs.
Well, if you use those tools and then allow them to then resonate through the rest of your life and actually integrate it, then they're super powerful. If you use it as a crutch to think that that's going to liberate you in some kind of way, that it's going to somehow magically heal you, and that's not what they're about. And they're not that sort of crutch. You can't avoid doing your work. That's what it comes down to.
Peyote helps raise consciousness in various forms. One, peyote is a heart-opening plant. And the name itself, peyote, means to light up the heart. And I believe that consciousness really comes from not only the mind, but from the heart. And in this sense, peyote increases your compassion to feel love, to feel compassion, and I feel that's the true source of consciousness.
We can stretch time and space, cosmic highways. And when we take certain medicines, we can travel all the way forward and all the way back, and we lock into spiritual DNA. Our cellular memory is in line with our ancestors. We merge the two to become one.
Why the indigenous people and the people of culture and rooted to Mother Earth would participate or utilize the sweat lodge is for primarily purification. It's a cleansing of mind, body, and spirit. It's a place that we can go to in the complete stillness of the dark. Go back into the womb of the mother to humble ourselves, to be back with mother, to be in that wombing area where we've originated from.
So there are many different methods for elimination, for purification. We have traditional methods, which are things like sweat lodges, things like purification ceremonies that have been taken place for centuries, but are still very rooted in our bones. And there are medicine plants that are traditionally used in indigenous tribes, ayahuasca, peyote. These are very, very powerful nature plants carrying nature spirits that will help us to move through those processes.
It's going to turn your life inside out and upside down for a very short period of time. It's going to sometimes even bring what you would call your final spiritual crises while you're in human form. For some of you, a most challenging experience, but it's part of the process of the transmutation of energy. You can make this choice right now to release yourself from the karmic merry-go-round. With a tear in your eye and a song in your heart, let suffering be a thing of your past. Bless the shadow.
The Gates of Mercy is not just a physical location here in the Holy City, but is to me a spiritual location of opening the gate of mercy in the heart itself, the eastern artery of the heart, and that when the gate of mercy flows, which is the divine grace, that anything that's ever been done is forgivable, that we are loved in spite of anything we've ever done. This is the divine love of who we are. This is the knowledge that Christ, when he was crucified, said, "Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." This is where he became illumined and resurrected. This is the moment we all go through when we go through a crucifixion in our daily life and have to rise above that with a love that is greater than anything else. And that when we get this gate of mercy opened in ourselves, then the water comes. And we know when the heart gets truly opened, not falsely open, but truly open, there's always tears. People always cry when they're touched in the heart, when we're moved so deeply in the heart. And when that grace is showered out from the heart and those waters begin to flow, I consider that the rain, you know, that greens things. That's the greening of the heart and the greening of compassion.
You're a human being. At least in comparison with other animals, you know you're human. So it's best that you strive to take this humanity to its ultimate nature. If your humanity overflows, divinity inevitably happens. If you have not allowed your humanity to reach its peak, divinity is just an empty talk. It's up there. If you allow your humanity to reach its very peak, divinity is a living reality for you.
Don't let anybody kill the love in your heart. When you see the world, see it with the eyes of your heart. Don't see it with the eyes of somebody else. See them with yours.
I also had the beautiful opportunity to hear Desmond Tutu speak about the Truth and Reconciliation process in South Africa. And you think, my goodness, if they can do it in South Africa, you know, I said to myself, what does this mean for Native America? How would we participate in a process like this?
The story of the opening of the heart is a deep, deep science as well as a deep spiritual and psychological mystery. So once we learn collectively that biologically as a planet we have enough force, as it were, to pray, literally to make our hearts beat together, we can create the electric field that holds us together, the heart of the matter, as it were.
The role of humans is essentially to be part of the awakening of spirit in matter, the curators of this living energy in the physical world. And So the sixth sun is the story of that awakening. And when humanity awakens and is heart-centered, they become part of the living biocircuitry of the planet.
Is the heart a portal? Yes, it's a portal. Now, inside the sacred space of the heart is a frequency, a vibration that is spoken about in the Vedas, in Sanskrit, and the Upanishads, and which they call Om. And to the 5,000–6,000 years ago, Om, the meaning of Om, was the frequency that could be felt, sensed, heard, and in some cases even seen within the heart. And that frequency, according to the Upanishads, is older than creation. It is the oldest, closest thing that we can touch God with.
Part of the dilemma we have is that our philosophy and our religious concepts separate us. And so the ancient cultures have a different way of viewing things. So as a Western culture, we're having to incorporate some of the ancient ways in a new or modern context, because sound transcends a lot of the language barriers and cultural context. And the beautiful thing in terms of the brain is that pure sound, we know, activates the non-dominant hemisphere. And so there's a chance to loosen up our perceptual world through sound.
Genetic science and biochemists been using 528 Hertz frequency in order to heal damaged DNA. It's known also that if the DNA structure dries, it starts to lose its structure. So we hydrate the body. And the best way to hydrate the body is drinking living water. And living water is to do with the hexagonal shaped molecule. We do need to transmit 528 Hertz frequency into the water, into our water in the body, or into the water that we drink, in such a way that our body will be properly hydrated.
How do you live a divine life and be human at the same time?
Just follow your heart, your prayers. But leave something in return, before you leave, your prayers. And the simple thing is your gratitude. As women, asquale. As men, kwakwa. Or say it in your own language, your prayers, but that's how we say it here in Hopi, Kwakwa, kwakwa.
Gratitude is the most basic, the most quite beautiful doorway into the numinous and to the divine, into the oneness. Everything begins, that relationship begins with one simple word, and that's thank you.
Open your heart, know truth, be truth.
Shekinah, and for me, the grandmothers, as I know them, are here, as the prophecy said, when the grandmothers speak, the earth will heal. This is the Hopi prophecy. Many Native American prophecies say that all of the tribes will once again be run by women.
Me preguntaron que si curaba.
They asked me if it heals.
Si la rezan con esa intención.
If you pray with that intention,
si se curan.
It does heal.
It's an emotional energy exchange at all times. So if we want our earth to be a safe place to live on, then we have to work with love. It's a very simple interchange. It's not even very profound. It's pure physics.
The grandmother holds the seeds of our grandchildren.
So we are a seed within a seed within a seed. That time in the Women's Lodge where you're bleeding, you're connecting back through time and space with your ancestors, all of that bleeding womb power that sits within us as women. So even as grandmothers, we are still connected to the future and the past. We truly are gatekeepers. We stand at the gateway of life and death.
Grandmother wisdom, defiled and dethroned, forgive younger brother, our vision grows dim, as we seek for the salve, the sad state we're in. From the well of the earth, mix medicine for men's hearts. With a wave of your wand, trace the sign of your art. Moon maiden, Bone mother, wise woman, crone, enchantress of space, lift the sword from the stone, and weave a new world on the loom of your fates, as you dispel with your tears all division and hate. Gaia, Sophia, Babylon, bride, return now, renewed and reborn on the tide.
The Kundalini of the earth now is emitting the new cycle, the new vibration that can be understood mostly better by women. They can feel this new vibration. They know what it is. It's in their hearts. They understand it.
In breath and in beauty, in love freed from duty. She'll take all your poisons and turn them to pleasures. She'll redeem all your toxins and return them as treasures. She's the infinite mantra, the love song of Tantra, and she cries, I am that I am.
For me, the exciting aspect of this prophecy is the fact that we're moving towards a time where the female energy and the female voice will be emerging in all aspects of the planet.
I have this secret longing for women to take over. Women who remember that they are life nurturers. I am absolutely certain we would see a different world order.
As a culture, I think that we have been over-solarized symbolically at a mythic level, and it's time for the moon, or the feminine, to come into balance to the masculine principle.
You stay in your brain, that's going to be hard. You stay in your heart, no problem. Not any. It'll just be so easy, and it'll be beautiful.
There were those small groups of humans who knew that someday humanity would re-emerge in a new and different and a healed way. They did the meditations and the chants, and they kept themselves in a type of trance state, maintaining a connection to the spiritual families. Continuing to hold the dream and the vision of the new earth, a new earth that is coming.
when they do these ceremonies, they're dreaming a new world.
They'd be dreaming an abundant future. They'd be dreaming that the rains would come. They'd be dreaming that there would be plentiful food for their families. That was all of their whole business was about dreaming nature into a perfect state of existence.
The Bushman people are the oldest people on this planet. They're wide open. They just merge with you unconditionally. They carry that unity. These people need to stay. We need them. Without them, we will be lost. As white people, we will be truly lost. They hold the true, authentic vibration of being on this planet.
A storyteller, one who has to know the history of his people, one who has to keep the remembrance of certain laws and practices. It's nothing really of much importance, except that in olden days I would have sat under a tree and told stories when the proper time came. Umlando means the great story, the great thing that must be related without forgetting, without making a mistake.
The dream time is a place beyond our 3D linear world existence. It's a place where everything is related. Oneness, past, present, future, as one. Myself and two other Nunkaris, we had to lay down on our backs and we put our feet up against the tree so our legs are facing up into the sky. And we were told, when we close our eyes, we had to send up a golden cord from our umbilical cord or belly button and send it up to the stars. And once we do that, then we climb up like a spider, travel up. The footprints of our ancestors are embedded in the energies that us dream runners can access, much similar to tracking on the ground.
How do we bring dreaming into existence? Through creativity, through being untethered in yourself and unafraid to be able to be exactly what's called upon in that moment, whether it be in your darkness or in your light, because it's all our juice. It's all what the collective experience of the dreaming is piecing together through every single one of us in every single moment.
That process of dreaming, that process of inquiry, attunes us to the field of that which wants to actually happen. So it's almost a ritual of attunement.
Lead on adventure through time and space. An indescribable way we face these coming days. In our land of dreams, in our land of dreams.
There is a saying to dream ourselves awake. And as we dream, we find the visions to dream ourselves into a much more awakened state of being. We can dream a whole new world. We have the power to do that. And it's not just to visualize and to see what we want, but to be the vision.
As you begin to trust yourself, it creates a whole new shape and an image and a form of who you are, so that you begin attracting new things to you, that you begin imagining a whole new type of existence here on earth. Imagination is bringing in, feeling, and embodying the energies of the potentials that you are choosing from your heart. Brings that to the forefront and makes it more likely to become manifest on earth.
Does that mean that with time growing up, I forget how to dream? I forget how to imagine myself a beautiful, colorful world?
Earth is a seductive place. Having a body, while some of you may not like it, is very seductive. So you're literally drawn back in here lifetime after lifetime because of this intense seduction.
How many of us can truly dream of beauty?
Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Who was the main knight? Well, basically Percival. Percival pierced the veil, perceived all, and if you like, Percival is the metaphor. He was the knight who saw the invisible world and realised that we are not alone.
So we really need to find times where we allow ourselves to imagine again, and to dream, and to just let the mind expand and open. And for us, the way is through being grounded in the body and the heart present in the body, and then you can let the mind unhook itself.
The principle of this new dimension that we are moving into is, as I think and speak and act and intend, so shall it be. Wow. That means that whatever the future is going to be for you personally is whatever you want it to be. It's total self-responsibility.
Right now, we've dreamt up a scenario where we've got a planet in crisis. That's our collective dream. Now, in order for us to have a planet that's not in crisis, we all need to start collectively dreaming of paradise.
Hence the paramount importance of maintaining the vision of what we would like. A calm land, a calm sea. Because the visions that we put out really influence what is manifested. Hence the importance of being very, very careful of the thoughts and the visions that we putting out there.
And the new dreaming is something that's going to work for all of us. Something that is ancient and connected and real, but also meets these contemporary times right now with all of our diversity. And it's got to be from all of us. It can't come from any one. It has to come from all of us. And that's the new dreaming. And it's got to be so fun and so creative that it's just like infectious for the whole world, and it just rolls out and people abandon the thoughts of being individuals and truly band together as one.
My vision for a perfect world in, say, 7 years' time will be a cooperative society where businesses, environment, human beings, spirituality, ecology are all working together. That's my vision. It has to be that way, that everybody comes from a much more holistic perspective. The idea of a circle of planetary elders, of men and women who truly who truly operate from their wisest, highest self would be a dream.
We've got to find something new, and something completely new means moving away from a money-based society. All the ancient cultures have a form of Ubuntu, communities that work as a united, unified community of individuals for the greater benefit of all the people in that community. And for that you don't need money. So no money, no barter, no trade, no value attached to anything, where everybody contributes their God-given talents or acquired skills to the greater benefit of all in their community.
How could we change money so that it is aligned with the principles of the gift? So that if you want to stay wealthy, you can't just keep it, but you have to circulate it. You have to put it out there in a way that will benefit other people. In a gift culture, the more generous you are, the more wealthy you are. Because if you give generously, then if you have a need, everybody's going to want to take care of you too.
Give what you can and take what you need. What's neat is that those human principles are being applied to business. And so it's a complete reversal of profit at all cost.
You put 1 grain in the soil and you get 10,000 grains back. That means a 1,000,000% profit margin. This you don't get with money. So there's always abundance. And they say that this farmer, I mean the true farmer, not the cash cropper, the people who plant like this, they will become the next leader, they will become the next banker. So my Hopi father also said that, yeah, you cannot eat money, so start planting corn. Prepare yourself for the next economy.
Money makes the corporate engine go round. You can't separate from it, but it doesn't have to be money at all cost. And so really what's on the cutting edge is designers using design thinking and design understanding at problem solving in very unique ways and coming up with, then of course, extremely new and exciting solutions.
When you view the earth as a living being, it fundamentally shifts your relationship. Rather than imposing a value, a price tag if you like, on earth. Instead of that, what you do is you actually fundamentally shift in legal terms to trusteeship law. And so that's about us becoming stewards, seeing ourselves as trustees, acting from an altruistic place on behalf of future beneficiaries and future beneficiaries whom we may never meet.
I think it's much more powerful to receive the vision and then to step into service to that vision.
The advancement in technology and the brightness of these kids coming through, just how awake they are and how they just pick up any piece of technology and within a couple of minutes they've mastered it. I'm really excited about what's going to happen for the future with regards to, you know, these youngsters coming up with ways to deal with plastics in the ocean and other ones that are coming up with ways of dealing with all of these things that we've looked at the wrong way, and they just come in with a completely different mindset and how to look at it, and they come up with the solutions. I have it with my kids. You know, some of the ideas they come up with, I go, how did that, you know, you come up with that? You're 8 or you're 5 years old. It's an amazing time to be alive. And I just think with technology and with the ability that we have to think forward now and with the technological advances that we have, we're in for a magical ride.
Our current way of looking at energy, it comes from a completely different perspective. It comes from electricity. Electricity is just one form of energy. Nikola Tesla clearly showed us that his radiant energy that didn't kill you, that traveled through everything instantly, could power everything.
There was a time a long time ago when the entire world knew what the flower of life was. It is the creation pattern, so it was the pattern that this reality was created through. In ancient times, every building they built, there wasn't any single thing they put into any of these buildings that wasn't based on the harmonies of music and the flower of life. It was the key to Leonardo da Vinci and how he was able to unfold everything and appear as a genius when really his genius was simply by understanding the flower of life.
The Atlanteans employed crystal energy. They used the technology of crystals to power their homes, to power their travels, to power everything. All crystals are knowledge keepers. Your computer is a crystalline store of knowledge because it has a silicon quartz chip in there. So it is the very nature of quartz to store information.
I mean, we've also discovered an incredible cavern in Mexico that has what they call the kings of selenite. And the Earth is revealing these and showing us what it's made of.
They're actually 11 meters. They weigh 55 tons apiece. These are, I call them pylons. They're as big as redwoods. This is some of the beautiful minerals in Mother Earth that we're literally walking on. Can you imagine pylons and crystal cathedrals and maybe several of Superman's fortresses of solitude in the earth? These great gifts are given to humankind, or they wouldn't come up in our consciousness. They would be cloistered, wouldn't they? They would not be given to us as a gift at this time. It was a rebirth into this moist, or out of this moist, hot womb. And I believe these crystals, what I could hear on the inner was this amazing hum. I felt like I was in the center of the universe and that I could literally hear God's language of light and sound.
You live in the most incredible time of change on Earth ever. You're witnessing the birth of new energy and new consciousness. You're hearing the call of the elders and the indigenous ones to accept your own sovereignty, to accept your own independence, your own divinity. You were given life. You were given soul, and you were given total freedom.
Blessings to the ancestors, to the spirit of this land. Give thanks to the elders, past, present, and future. Thanks to the custodians of this land that we stand upon.
How can humanity create paradise on earth, heaven on earth? Well, we can begin with sovereignty for everyone. Everything and everyone is equal with each other within this earth.
We're all indigenous to this planet, no matter where we come from. We're multi-dimensional beings, spiritual beings, trying on clothing for a life, and that's this body. Because I'm eternal. I know that with my entire being.
As I run Jukurpa, Dreamtime, I see new sovereign beings running. These are the sovereign beings of our next generations, our newborns. These new ancestors coming in, our newborns are our old coming back into the new again. Some would say reincarnated into new flesh garments, cosmic travelers coming back to finish their job.
To be sovereign is to be your own authority, to not be ruled by anyone else. It's to stand in your own right, under no other, and to be a fully autonomous human being. It's an authority to oneself, guided by your own inner compass. And we are each sovereign unto ourselves. It's time to reclaim our sovereign birthright. We stand under no man, no God, or any other imposed limitation. People everywhere, all over the world, are uniting to claim these universal rights under natural law.
Way back in the dream time and stories, a long, long time ago, even before any person, any white man came to the shores, the people had stories. They used to sing and dance to the stories. We are sovereign people, but with that comes responsibility. And we'll be guided and governed by the universal law. Cause no harm, cause no loss, do no damage, and don't impose your will on others.
As we know, we have lots to learn from the First Nations in terms of getting back to natural law, because the systems that have been created by the white fella are simply outside of the alignment with natural law.
We know where we came from. We know our ancestry, our lineage, our blood lineage to the land and within the parameters of our tribal boundaries.
From satellite and airplane mapping, DC magnetic lines accurately map from the air what the Aboriginals called song lines and dreaming track. And the deeper picture is that the electric field your body makes, because we believe it makes gravity, actually becomes the stuff that holds that energy line together. Example, so when the Aboriginal lady feels a child first leap in her womb, she runs to get the shaman, and they make a picture of the magnetism of that place on the land on a stone. That stone with the painting becomes the title deed of that child to his land that he will be in charge of dreaming.
Before they came on these shores, before any person, before my grandmother, before all of people, before humans, the stories go way back into the heavens, and languages are the integral part of our connection to the land, to the stars, deep into the earth. Kalangan weber malidad. Ururia weber malidad. Khanya war. Dalangay khanya yalagan ko.
Indigenous tribes today, the world over, are fighting for their right to be sovereign, just as their ancestors were sovereign.
At this moment in history, a devastation is being done to the Mother Earth, and this devastation is compromising perhaps the continued future of all peoples.
We've got infinite potential if we learn how to truly trust one another. And that's what the game is right now, is learning to trust in the tribe, to take what we know to be true and put it into action with one another in a really holistic way, where we're actually turning all of our energy towards one another to bolster a within community economy. And that economy can free us all up to be able to do our work through sharing resources, properties, making safe zones all over the place where people can actually properly invest their spiritual energy into doing the work on the planet.
A new tribe of people from all races, creed and colour are holding a new future vision for the planet. This global tribe of rainbow warriors are teaming up with indigenous peoples from all over the world, learning about old law, natural medicines and sacred ceremonies. They will become the holders of these stories, and they will teach the next generation how to tread more lightly on the earth, to create a more sustainable legacy for generations to come. Our ancestors dreamed us into being, just as we now dream a new future for our descendants. Is it time to call down manna from the kingdom of heaven?
Because I love you so much. Because I love you so much, so much, so much. Because I love you so much with all of my heart. Hiana, hey, nay, oh, hey. Because I love you, hey, oh, hey. Hiana, hey, hiana, 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 hey, oh.
One love, one family. One love, one happy. One planet to live on. One planet, one love. One love, one being. Oh, matakuyasan. Oh, matakuyasan.
Perhaps this is how you wrote out this chapter. Perhaps you wrote it out that you would live enough lifetimes right here on earth to be here for the greatest change on earth ever, the greatest change in consciousness, the actual integration of new energy. But what just if this last chapter in your journey on earth was a chapter when you said, I'm going to fall in love with myself. I'm going to be here at the beginning of the era of new energy. I'm going to be a pioneer once again, learning how to work with new energy when most humans haven't a clue what it is. Learning how to go beyond vibrational into expansional while here in the physical body, experiencing it in the most intimate way. And that's what life as a human is about, becoming intimate with yourself.
When you can step into the void from the outside to the inside, into that space in between with no fear, then you will see that the veil was only ever an illusion, placed there by yourself for your own teaching. It was your fruit of the rose.
The door is inside of each of us. And through the inside, we can meet.
Dare you dance, or will you walk?
What if some part of me has to die in order for me to truly live?
From the beginning, we have been with you. We are the ancient ones. And we remember. We remember the time when there was only love. The time when all breathing was one. We remember the seed of your being, planted in the belly of the vast black night.
¿Quién soy yo? Y a veces pienso, yo soy alguien, le llamamos un espíritu, que está dentro de este cuerpo. El que está hablando en estos momentos no es este cuerpo, soy yo. Le llaman el ego. Yo soy un ser humano ahora, pero soy un espíritu que está prisionero dentro de este cuerpo. Ahora es únicamente el vehículo donde me muevo, donde me trabajo.
The priestess in the ancient Egyptian time, or the chosen people, have discovered lots of energies and lots of secrets. And they know about human body very good. To hear the voice, to hear something, it can guide you and it can guide the body. The sound and the smell can guide the soul. If I die today, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the life. The life going to continue. And me, myself, I am going to be in another dimension.
In the yogic systems, in the Indian way of spirituality, when we say spirituality, we don't talk about God, we talk about death. Because only with the reminder that human being is mortal, that he tends to look beyond dimensions which are beyond the physical.
Well, I bled to death in the birth of my second child. And I have been told since by a lama that that is the most excellent way to die. Because you retain your consciousness till the last second. At the very, very end of the tunnel, there was a light. And it was so fascinating. I saw to the left a light coming towards me, a golden light, and I knew that that light was my father. And I just rejoiced inside. And he came towards me and he was walking, and I had never seen my father walk or stand in life. He was paralyzed. So he was walking, and that made me more joyous. And I said, "Oh, Dad." And behind him, there were all of these lights stretching back as far as you could see. And I said, "Who is that with you?" And he said, "Oh, these are all your ancestors. Didn't you know? You are the living hope of all your ancestors."
So human, as I hold it, is not just being a mammal. It is also being a god, or a goddess, in form, in matter at the same time. And that tension between our embodiment and our animal nature and our divine nature becomes very fruitful and a very fertile territory.
We empower you to be able to know that within this silhouette of this form of the two-leggeds, go out and discover. Listen to the communications, not just of the two-leggeds. Listen to the wind, listen to the trees, listen to all that is around. Use the sensories that are within you. The God, deity, entity is within all of us.
There is that suddenly we are open to each other, and open to being enlightened by each other. And that to me defines consciousness, and that is something which is now springing up. A new sense of that consciousness is literally arising as we speak.
Ascension occurred in the moment I surrendered to the love of myself. It occurred in the moment when I said, I am that I am, and I love everything about myself. Without shame, without guilt, without reservation. No ifs, ands, and buts. When I surrendered into who I actually am, rather than the aspect that I was creating, trying to pretend I was something else. My ascension occurred when I knew within my heart that I am, and I always was, and I always will be. What a journey. What an incredible journey it has been. Also. And so it is.
Every species on Earth has an important gift to give the totality of all life on Earth. And humanity is no different. What is our gift to Earth? This is the most important question we can ask as we enter the adulthood of the species.
We're here to remember who we are, that we're infinite souls of light, infinite souls, fractals of the divine creation. And we've forgotten that.
We human beings are becoming saviors where we were destroyers before. This is the greatest hope that I see for the human race everywhere. This is the greatest hope for us, the children of the great Earth Mother.
For the next few hundred years, our purpose will probably be to heal the damage that's been caused, to reverse the deserts, to replant the forests, to take care of Earth, to heal the toxic waste. But after that, who knows what our purpose will be.
So, here is our challenge. We know the power of our dreams. So what will you dream tonight? Can we become the future that our ancestors dreamed of? Our future is in your hands.
Any change?
There's a light on the water, sons and daughters, from the past and the future, songs and prayers of our ancestors, grandmothers and fathers, turning
piensa acá.